The fighter. Let's just say the fighter's got to be one of my favorite classes, next to the barbarian and the monk. I like martials a lot, if you couldn't tell. Martials are one of my favorite types of fantasies to play in D&D style tabletop role-playing games that are available. Though I do like other types of fantasies, like sci-fi. I do like the idea of being a man wielding a sword and shield, or wielding two swords, or what have you. I find it very fun. Which, for a while, when I first started playing D&D, the fighter seemed like a very fun class. In addition to the barbarian, I thought multi-classing the two would be a very good combination. However, in the most recent of years, I have found that both classes are very lacking. As the extra attack feature does not stack, Action Surge is better used on spellcasters as it is anyway. The Barbarian Rage feature is very weak, as you already know. And the fighter, the only way for the fighter to be truly interesting to play is by playing the Battlemaster, as it's the only subclass that gives you genuine options. Now, I know some actually people will be like, actually, if you look at the fighter classes, if you look at all the subclasses of the fighter, there's actually 2 additional classes you didn't take into account. 3 if you count another one, and that's the giant where you get to pick your rules. You got the Cyanide fighter that has your options, and then you got the Arcane Archer, which has shot options. What they don't tell you is that with the giant runes, you only get to pick like 3 or 4 out of the 8, and most of their benefits aren't that good in comparison to the Battlemaster maneuvers. The Cyanide fighter just gets their options, and they have dice that they can spend in order to use the same maneuvers as every other Cyanide fighter. And the Arcane Archer has only 2 shots that they can use every long rest. Or is it every short or long rest? One of the two. Either way, very, very weak class, all things considered. It's one of the better martial classes next to the monk, in comparison to the barbarian and the rogue, but still fairly weak. So, you might be asking yourself, Brooke, what do you plan on doing to change the fighter? Let me guess, you plan on giving them maneuvers as a baseline feature like everybody else. Yes. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. If it's a good idea, and everybody's doing it, it must be a fantastic idea. However, mine is going to be a little bit different. Normally what people do whenever they make a fighter rework, and they're just getting into optimization, myself included, they'll just take Battlemaster, go maneuver dice, and maneuvers, baseline class features now. Every fighter can do them. Every fighter has dice. They get a number of dice equal to their level. They can spend these dice to their maneuvers, yada yada yada. However, mine's going to be a little bit different, in the sense that all the martial classes and the 2 or the 3 half-caster classes will each have their own unique resource that they use in different ways. And for the fighter, that's going to be stamina. Now, how stamina is going to work is that they're going to have an amount of stamina equal to their level. And anytime they want to use a maneuver, they have to expend 1 stamina. It doesn't matter what it is, they have to at least spend 1 stamina. And at later levels, maybe I'll have an increase in stamina. So at level 5, you may have to spend 2 stamina to use 1. At level 10, you may have to use 3, 4, so on and so forth. Basically, the more taxing on your body it is, as in the higher level the maneuver is, the more stamina you have to spend. In addition to this, fighters, their second wind feature will act similar to how it does in 4th edition, with a few changes. So how it works in 4th edition is that with second wind, you are allowed to expend a healing surge on yourself once per rest. I think that's the term that they used in 4th edition. It's not long rest. I think it's not short rest either. It's once per encounter or once per day or something like that. But basically, you heal a quarter of your maximum HP whenever you use a healing surge. And with Second Wind, which is what everybody gets to do, you get to do that on yourself. And normally, other classes will have they'll normally have features that grant an ally the ability to use a healing surge on themselves, but the Second Wind is the only feature, as far as I'm aware, that allows each class to independently use their own healing surges without the need for external abilities from other classes. So the Fighter's Second Wind feature will work as follows. Basically, once per short or long rest, you can recover up to half of your maximum hit points and up to half of your stamina. And you can do this once per short or long rest, and then later on you can use it twice per short or long rest. I'm thinking somewhere in the epic tier, as your HP is a greater resource early on than it is at later levels, because you'll have so much more HP. On top of that, the maneuvers will be separated into, obviously, at-will maneuvers and maneuvers that cost you your stamina. Extra attack will not be a thing that fighters get. Instead, their baseline weapon damage on basic attacks, needless to say, whenever a fighter just goes up and swings their weapon and does nothing else, they will increase in damage. So if you are a sword and board fighter with a longsword, at lower levels, you'll still deal the standard 1d8 plus strength modifier damage on the basic attack. But then at later levels, say at levels 6, 11, and 16, you will gain an ability that grants you additional damage on your weapon attacks, specifically for basic attacking. And it will basically double, triple, and quadruple your damage per basic attack whenever you do so, which also increases the damage of your opportunity attacks because it is a single weapon strike. Action Surge will now also be changed to where you must use the attack action or any other action that is not casting a spell. So spellcasters have no reason to multiclass in a fighter anymore, other than the armor proficiencies, but that's also being changed where multiclass. That's a whole other video, I'll get into at a different point. But stamina will all be recovered on a long rest, and half of your stamina will be recovered every short rest. And whenever you critically strike with a weapon attack, you can gain a stamina point back. So basically, the better your fighting is, or the better you are at fighting, the more you're able to actually fight. In addition, there will be maneuvers that help you out in combat primarily, but there will also be some at-wills that will allow you to gain benefits on passive things like skill checks and things like that. This one's still a work in progress, though I have in my mind that there will be a maneuver that you will be allowed to take that allows you to basically use your Second Wind feature, like heal for a quarter of your maximum hit points. Basically a half use of your Second Wind without gaining stamina back. That's kind of like a keep fighting style maneuver. Fighters will also still have proficiency in all weapons and all armor and shields. All fighting styles. And they still have the same feat progression as everyone else. But the one difference is that I'm going to be taking a page out of the new 1D&D book that is supposed to be coming out in September or so. So be on the lookout for my review of that book. I'm going to be taking a page from that with their weapon masteries, but make them a little bit more interesting. when I get to the weapon overhauls. So basically, fighters are going to be really good at using particular types of weapons. So if you're a sword and board, you'll be really good at using one-handed swords. If you're really good with, if you want to use two weapons, you'll be really good at that. If you want to basically shield bash people, you can do that. Big weapons, you can do that. What have you. And depending on your weapon mastery, you gain a mastery, which is a special kind of feat that certain marshals can get access to. And it will grant the weapons unique benefits. Indomitable. That's also being changed from a reroll, basically advantage, to a automatic success. You fail a save, you just succeed. That's it. You just get legendary resistance. Barbarians, as I've had them reworked, already gain advantage on a lot of things. The rogue is gonna still have evasion. Monk still has evasion. Fighter having straight up immunity to some things a number of times per day is perfectly fine. The one thing that I think will be a little bit controversial is that fighters' baseline will not be ranged characters. They will not have the option of range. So they will have proficiency in all armor, shields, and they'll have proficiency in all melee weapons, but no ranged weapons. And that a specific subclass of fighter has to be taken in order to be proficient in ranged weaponry. And even then, it will strictly be worse than playing a ranger, as playing a ranger, the dedicated range weapon wielder, is meant to be better. So, it's a bit of a controversial one. That's about it. There's not a lot that's also... I mean, obviously they're going to get the better features that level up with them, other than just more uses of Second Wind, more uses of Indomitable, more uses of Action Surge, more fighting styles, and an actual capstone. They'll just get better abilities overall. And all of the subclasses will be given their own at-will power, all of their unique powers for each of them, stuff like that. But yeah, that's my idea for the fighter.